Hey, welcome to Mooney Reads. My name is Beck, and today I'm going to be doing my wrap-up for the Rent Readathon. The Rent Readathon ran from the 17th to the 23rd of January, and it was hosted by Kathy Trithart and myself. If you haven't seen any videos about that yet, please go check it out. There is even a tag for it that you're more than welcome to do at any point. So I'm going to start out with the books that I started and finished, totally read for the readathon, and then I'll talk about a couple of others that I started or worked on. First, I read Always Human by Ari North. This covered the prompts for Collins, which included sci-fi fantasy and a book that has a queer person of color. This also covered a prompt for Mimi because it is a graphic novel. This book is set in a world that's more futuristic. There's a lot in terms of technology, and people can use I think what's essentially like nanotechnology to be able to change their appearance really easily. And our main character, Tsunade, is one of the people that really likes to change their appearance a lot. And one day she begins to notice a girl who is at the train station. She sees her continuously over and over, and she thinks that she's cute. She's attracted to her first off, but she also notices that this person never changes her look really. One day they eventually start to talk, and it turns out this person that she was interested in, Austin, actually can't have any of that technology. She has a medical condition that makes her immune system too strong to take them. But they end up talking and decide to go on a date. And then from there you get to see them fall for each other. And alongside this, of course, you have other kind of things going on, stuff like meeting the family, but also there's a lot of discussion around Austin's condition and the way that Tsunade acts around it. So it really looks at ableism in a lot of ways. So there were a lot of interesting ideas in this book. I also enjoyed the artwork. There's one page of it, and this is kind of how most of the panels are. So ultimately I gave this book 3 stars. It was nice. I really liked the idea, but it felt like it went very quickly. And it seemed like there could be a lot more development in terms of the character and the story in different ways. So it wasn't bad, but it also wasn't necessarily my favorite, even though I do really like a lot of the ideas that were presented in it. Next, I finished Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong. This covered the prompt for Maureen because this is a poetry book, but it also covered Collins' prompt as well because this is written by a queer person of color. This is a story collection about Ocean Vuong's experience being Vietnamese and being gay. There are poems in here that talk about the Vietnam War and immigration, but there's also a lot about just his family in general. He's got like a poem about his mom and where his name came from. There are also poems that center his queerness. So there's a lot going on in here, and it was so beautiful. I honestly feel like I need to read it again to really get all of what was going on. But I overall really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to rereading this and to seeing what else Ocean Vuong has. So I ended up giving this 4 stars. The final book that I read for the Rent Readathon was not on my TBR, but it is Muted by Tami Charles. It fit the prompts for Roger because it is about music and it's a contemporary. It fits the prompts for Maureen because it is about a performance artist and it's written in verse. Then it also fits Collins because the main character is a queer person of color. The whole premise of this book is that our main character, Denver, is in a singing group. This is what she's passionate about. It's what she wants to do. She doesn't want to go to college. She wants to sing. And she gets what she believes is the opportunity of a lifetime when one of her favorite artists takes an interest in her and her group. But as the story progresses, it's really clear that this was not all that she thought that it would be. Things end up turning pretty dark, and it looks into some dark aspects of the music industry and how people, especially women, especially Black women, are taken advantage of. This book honestly surprised me in a few ways. I expected this to be like a hard-hitting contemporary, but as the story progressed, the tension built, it started to feel almost more like a psychological thriller. Now, I can't say anything about the genre itself because I don't really read that genre, but the feeling that I got, the feeling that it portrays of being stuck in a situation like that is really horrific. And the author did a great job of showing that, and showing it really well through this medium. It's interesting to me when authors choose to write a novel in verse, just because it can be kind of a hit or miss. But I think that she told the story successfully, and I think that the way that verse works, it was. I think that she was able to use it to her advantage really well. I liked that there was development of other stuff that went on as well. Like you get an idea of her interactions with her friends towards the beginning, so their relationship, the relationship with her family. It seems like there was some backstory there. It would have been nice to see a little bit more, but ultimately I think that the way that it was done worked really well for the book. Now, I mentioned that this character is queer, but don't go into the book expecting that to be the center. I think in some ways her relationship with another woman is central, but not in the way you're expecting it. So don't go into this expecting happy gays, but I do think that it really added to the way that the story was, and like her reasons behind doing what she did, and it added to the tension of the story. Now, I thought there were a lot of things in this book done well, but I think that possibly the most successful thing that she did in this was writing the antagonist. I'm not sure I've hated a character more, which is saying a lot. And I'm not talking about the love to hate that you tend to have for a lot of, or that a lot of people have for a lot of villains. I'm talking, I wanted to kill this man, like, and not in a funny way, not in a fun way, but in a way that he represents a lot of truly scummy, disgusting men that actually exist. And she was able to demonstrate this really well. And I think that it's doubly impressive that she was able to do it, again, like writing in prose. Overall, I had a lot of thoughts about how she actually wrote the abusive situation. I think that a lot of the time, we think kind of one extreme or the other. Either the person is just a horrendous piece of shit and they're stuck with the person, or the person seems charismatic overall and nobody would have expected it. It wasn't one of those two. I think that it's pretty clear that the main character trusted the guy, initially at the very least, but this is written in past tense, so this is the narrator looking back on the situation. So I think because it's written like that, you can see both her naivete and trust, but you also see the red flags and the fact that other people in her life see the red flags. And since you have both of those things, and as like an adult reading this, like I knew right off the bat, this is an old ass man who's talking up 17-year-olds, end him immediately. Like that was my gut reaction. But I know not everybody really knows that and really thinks that. There are people that I've talked to and worked with who had, old boyfriends. So like, I know in reality, not everybody's going to see those same red flags. So that added to the tension for me personally, because I was immediately just ready to fight. But looking at the actual story, you're getting people that know that there are red flags going on, and you get the people who are actually trusting or really wanting to trust because they need this person, on top of the fact that, the narrator's looking back. So I think that she's probably adding a little bit of perspective. So that kind of adds to the tension, because it's not totally one or the other. It's not like everybody in this situation knows he's bad, or everybody in this situation thinks he's good. And I think that complexity speaks to what it's actually like, at least for a fair amount of abusive situations. You know, not everybody is in a situation that nobody's seeing. A lot of people are in situations that other people do see, and sometimes they see themselves, but they still walk into it. They still do it because they think that it might not actually be that bad and they're just being over dramatic. They might think that it's going to get better. They might think that if they wait it out now, better stuff will happen later. They do it because they love the person or respect the person or what have you. It's complicated. It's a lot more complicated than thinking this person is a terrible piece of shit and this person can do no wrong. A lot of time it is a really contentious middle ground, and this book demonstrates that really well. So I've spent probably way too much time on this book compared to the others in this wrap-up. Needless to say, this was really well done. It was also very intense. Trigger warnings for abuse, emotional and physical abuse, sexual abuse. There is homophobia, fat phobia, disordered eating. There's also a description of blood, some in the context of menstruating and some in the context of actual injury. So those are some things to know about going in. I feel like I blabbered a lot about this book, but I didn't actually articulate all of my thoughts on it because I didn't even get to talk about the sibling dynamic or the parents or anything like that. But it comes out February 2nd, so you can go check it out yourself. So those are the books that I finished. I also worked on Sontag by Benjamin Moser. This was my book for Mark because it fits all of Mark's prompts. It is about a Jewish person who is involved in film. It is a biography of her. I've read some of Susan Sontag's works before, and I was interested in learning about her life and how they impacted her works, and that's what I'm learning about. I won't say very much more because I'm not super far into it, and since this is a long read, you'll probably hear me mention it a lot, so I don't want to repeat myself a ton. The other book that I worked on was not on my TBR whatsoever, but it's a new release, White Feminism. It doesn't have a book jacket because I borrowed it from work. It was kind of an impulse borrow because, quite frankly, I'm buying way too many books. So I borrowed this one. Honestly, I might end up buying it, though, because it's really good so far. I'm learning a lot. She's talking about kind of the history of white feminism and looking specifically at the ways that white feminism has failed marginalized people. She talks about women of color, obviously. She also talks about trans women, and she's going through and talking about specific groups of women and specific areas that white feminism has overlooked. So I'm getting a whole lot out of this, and I'm not even that far the way through it yet. So I can only have this book for another week and a half. So you'll definitely hear me talk about it more in my monthly wrap-up. So that is it for my Rent Readathon wrap-up. If you participated in the Rent Readathon, definitely let me know about what you read down in the comments. And thank you all so much for watching. Bye.